When the Hollywood legends finally stepped away from the spotlight, they left behind fortunes large enough to buy an entire block in Beverly Hills. The public waited in suspense for the moment the will's envelope would be opened, expecting to see millions divided among loved ones and prestigious charities, but what appeared instead were chilling, almost unbelievable clauses forcing the living to hold a séance on the exact anniversary of their death. Treasures hidden in a safe under the deceased's name since 1923, or a bequeathed object deemed cursed with instructions to bury it deep in the ground that very night. So, who were they? And what could drive these powerful stars to leave the world with wills so bizarre that Hollywood is still buzzing about them today? Let's find out in today's video. Doubt 1. Elizabeth Taylor. The treasure trove of jewelry divided by strange criteria. Mention Elizabeth Taylor and Hollywood instantly conjures the image of a legend with rare violet eyes, 8 tumultuous marriages, and a diamond collection dazzling enough to make the entire world swoon. For decades, she was not only a movie star, but also the queen of jewelry in Hollywood, amassing precious stones, each tied to a love story, a brief marriage or a scandal that once blazed across the front pages of the New York Times or Vanity Fair. And yet, the biggest shock Elizabeth Taylor left behind was not the glitter of the red carpet, but her will revealed after she passed away on March 23, 2011 in Los Angeles, when her attorney, John C. Branagh, opened the sealed envelope in front of family and the press. The room fell utterly silent. Her jewelry collection, worth over $150 million, was not divided based on monetary value nor on blood ties. Instead, Elizabeth Taylor chose a method so strange it was almost unbelievable. She based the division on the energy of each piece and the compatibility she felt between the item and the recipient. The legendary 33-carat crop diamond, the eternal love gift Richard Burton gave her in 1968 and considered the crown jewel of her life, did not go to any family member. Instead, it was given to a little-known friend with no blood relation. In her will, she wrote just one brief line: "Her smile suits this stone more than anyone else's." It didn't stop there. Million-dollar treasures, such as the La Peregrina pearl necklace, the Cartier bracelet, and the sparkling sapphire earrings, each came with only a short yet cryptic note, because she understands its story. Lawyers were baffled, unable to translate such words into legal language. But for Elizabeth Taylor, this was her way of ensuring each stone found its true soulmate. Immediately, Hollywood exploded with rumors. Some commentators on Entertainment Tonight suggested this was a secret message to lovers or soulmates she had promised to leave a piece of her heart to after her death. Others claimed it was a mind game Taylor deliberately staged, forcing the public to endlessly speculate. Veteran columnist Liz Smith even revealed in the New York Post that the will contained implications about relationships never made public, including the possibility of a secret same-sex romance. One thing was certain: even after leaving the spotlight, Elizabeth Taylor still directed the final performance of her life, a masterpiece blending glamour, mystery, and finesse that Hollywood more than a decade later still can't stop talking about. And if you think Elizabeth Taylor was the only one to leave behind a will that made the world gasp, brace yourself, because the next story about Marlon Brando will leave you even more stunned. A cinematic legend, a man who shook the silver screen. He completely cut a loyal assistant out of his will over an air conditioner. 2. Marlon Brando. The will changed over an air conditioner. On July 1, 2004, when news of Marlon Brando's death spread across Hollywood, people imagined the final chapter of The Godfather would close with dignity and sentiment. But weeks later, when attorney John Howard read the will in his Los Angeles office, the heavy silence in the room quickly gave way to incredulous whispers. Angela Borleza, the woman who had been by Brando's side for nearly 2 decades, had completely vanished from the inheritance list. This was all the more baffling given that everyone knew Angela was not just a housekeeper but Brando's right hand. She had followed him all the way to his island of Tetiaroa in Polinia, living in wooden houses, scented with sea air, tending to his every meal and drink, and knowing secrets Brando had never told anyone else. In 1999, the Los Angeles Times even called her the only woman who knows what Brando really eats every night and dreams every morning. So, why was someone so close cut out so mercilessly? According to an anonymous witness, it all began with an air conditioner. One sweltering afternoon in the dry season on Angela hired a technician to install an air conditioner in Brando's bedroom, saying, "It will help you sleep better." But when Brando discovered it, he became so furious, he smashed a glass of water on the floor and shouted, "You've just killed the breath of this place." To Brando, the air conditioner wasn't just an appliance. It was an intruder, a symbol of the artificial world he had always tried to escape. He believed artificial cold would ruin the energy of the room. And from that moment on, Angela was no longer someone he trusted. Sources from The Hollywood Reporter confirmed Brando amended his will just days before his death, striking Angela's name with his own hand and replacing her with a distant relative he barely knew. Stranger still, according to a former island employee, Brando also ordered the air conditioner removed that very night and buried under a palm tree, as though it were a cursed object. The act shocked everyone in his circle. They knew Brando could be eccentric, but cutting out someone who had been there for life over a cooling device and treating it like contraband was beyond imagination. The story became a hot topic in Variety People and even on Entertainment Tonight, where one reporter remarked, "If an air conditioner can change Marlon Brando's will, then in Hollywood, nothing is impossible." And indeed, nothing was impossible. The next person, Cary Grant, proved it with a bizarre move of his own. 3. Cary Grant. The mysterious sums left to a special friend, with a face seemingly carved from marble, a deep voice, and the kind of elegance that made women of the golden era swoon. Cary Grant was the embodiment of the perfect gentleman. But behind that polished exterior, Hollywood whispered about a private life full of mysteries which Grant himself never publicly explained. For more than half a century, on November 29, 1986, when Cary Grant died in Davenport, Iowa, his will quickly became front-page news in the Los Angeles Times, Vanity Fair, and countless TV programs. At first, it seemed straightforward. Most of his multi-million-dollar fortune went to his wife Barbara Harris and his only daughter Jennifer Grant. But then the list of secondary beneficiaries made Hollywood hold its breath. Among the usual names of family and friends were several men with whom Grant had never publicly acknowledged any relationship, yet he left them large sums of money, along with handwritten personal notes. Most notable was Randolph Scott, the handsome actor who had lived with Grant for nearly a decade at their Malibu beachfront villa. Dubbed by Photoplay magazine in 1941 as the most romantic home in Hollywood, though both men repeatedly insisted they were just friends. Countless photographs of them walking on the beach, having breakfast on the porch, or sitting shoulder to shoulder reading the paper fueled endless speculation. A former servant at the villa told The Hollywood Reporter they lived like a married couple, except they never mentioned it in front of outsiders. Grant's decision to leave substantial money to Scott and several other men immediately sparked questions. Was it merely gratitude for friendship or a silent acknowledgement of romances that Hollywood in the 1940s, 50s would never have accepted? Gossip columnists like Liz Smith even claimed the will was a final love letter, but written in legal language. However, Grant left no clear answers, only brief, succinct lines crafted with enough subtlety to turn his private life into an unfinished movie where audiences would forever wonder about the ending. He left this world, but that secret lingered in the Hollywood air like a faint haze that never dissipates. Cary Grant may have kept his love life wrapped in implication, but John Wayne, the hero of the Wild West, left a will that revealed his full character, strong, direct, yet full of unexpected twists that shocked even those closest to him. 4. John Wayne. The code in the will that no one has cracked for decades. On June 11, 199, when news broke that John Wayne, the Duke of the Wild West, had taken his last breath in Los Angeles, fans and media alike expected a will that was solemn, straightforward, and reflective of the stoic hero he portrayed on screen. But when the lawyer read the legal pages in front of his family and a few close friends at his Newport Beach office, the room fell into an indescribable silence. John Wayne's will resembled a code game only the recipients could truly understand. In addition to dividing his vast fortune among his 7 children, Wayne left personal items with instructions so peculiar that reporters at the Los Angeles Times and People called them haunting. His son Michael received an old cowboy hat, but sewn into its lining was a silver coin, dated 1881, the year of the famous OK Corral gunfight. With no explanation, his daughter Issa recalled her father staring at the coin for hours as though it held a secret he would take to the grave. A close friend, former stuntman Yakka McCut, was given a locked wooden box with a note on the lee.